Hey everybody, Mac to Monster, back with Marvel Heroes, and we got Doom on the chopping block. And Mr. Doom's pretty good. Actually, it's freaking awesome. Um, at first, I wasn't really happy with him. I tried a couple different builds, and they weren't working for me. And I found him quite squishy, and just the play style wasn't for me. And then I switched some things up, and all of a sudden, the world opened up, and he was destroying stuff. So the build I ended up going with was this, and I call it the Power Cosmic. And let's just get into the build. So he's got quite a few things going on. He's got the Tech tree, the Sorcery tree, and the Latveria tree. The Latveria tree is a summoning tree. Sorcery and Tech is kind of self-descriptive. You can make builds out of all three trees, or you can make builds out of all three trees combined. And that was what they were shooting for, and they actually made it work. However, I found it squishy if you used any one of the Tech or Sorcery trees alone. The Latveria tree, not so much, because you had pets to take out the aggro. So for this build, we are using some pets here. We're going to do 20 points into Declaration of War. What this is going to do is going to give us 3 Doom bots. And with what we're going to do a little bit later, it's going to give us those Doom bots permanently. And so the passive effect we're going to ignore, and we're just going to keep the Doom bots out as pets, and they're going to be our bodyguards. And then we have a choice of Latverian Blockade, Latverian Inferno, or Latverian War Drums. Now, the interesting thing about these 3 pet parts of the tree is they're all the same pets. You get 1 of the shield guys, 1 of the ground slam guys, and 1 of the Inferno, the cinder bots. So it's kind of interesting. That's going to happen with what we do later on. So what's more interesting about these guys is each one has a passive effect. So if you're not doing anything with the Latverian tree at all, you should at least have 1 point in each one of those, because if you're not using the pet at all, while it's off cooldown, you'll get the bonus. Like, for instance, this has a passive effect of 3% chance to negate incoming damage. And as long as it's not on cooldown, you'll get that block chance. This gives you range power damage. This one gives you melee power damage. So if you are using them, you're going to want to pick the one that you're not using. So if you're using all range, you pick the melee power damage, because you're always going to have it on cooldown and you don't need melee power. If you're going to be using the melee power on the Tech side, you're going to use the range power. You put your points into the range power, and you use the range power buff side, because you're not going to need the range power buff. Something kind of interesting with that. So going back to the build, we're going to do 20 points in the Latverian War Drums. We're not going to be using melee power, we're going to be staying with range. We're going to let the pets tank, so we're going to stay behind them. We're going to do 20 points into Lord of Latveria. This is a signature power. Because what we're going to be doing is turning off the ability to use other signatures, this is going to be a pretty beefy signature for us. It summons 6 Latverian servo soldiers. They do a whole mess of shots, and they shoot up the enemy pretty good. So we'll use that as our signature. Then we're going to do 20 points into the Will of Doom. And when you do 20 points into the Will of Doom, you get a whole lot of passive effect: damage rating, critic hit rating, brutal strike rating, base damage rating when you hit with a physical, energy, or mental power, and that stacks. And this build's going to take effect of that pretty good. You get bonus summon ally damage, and you get a revive should you die. So it's pretty powerful passive. You can use a buff effect of invulnerability if you need it. I haven't found a need for it ever since I went to this build. Now this opens up specializations. So if you choose to, you can pick Doom's Brilliance, Doom's Cunning, or Doom's Army. By picking Doom's Brilliance or Doom's Cunning, it turns off one of two different resources. You have power and you have magic to start with. So if you took Doom's Brilliance, which is the tech tree specialization, you're going to use all tech powers, you would turn off magic, which is the sorcery tree resource, power being the tech tree resource, and you'd get a buff to the entire tech tree. Same with Doom's Cunning, except it's going to work with the sorcery tree, and it turns off power and buffs the magic side. Now, an interesting thing that happens with Doom Army is it doesn't turn off power or magic, but it does buff the Latverian side. And what I was talking about is when you summon Latverian war drums, all three mechs are summoned. You'll get a Cinder bot, you'll get a Shield bot, and you'll get an Arrow bot. And basically that's the Flamer, that's the Shield tank guy, and that's the Ground Pounder. So we're going to specialize. I'm just showing you how it works here. It also reduces the cooldown of Lord of Latveria by 10 seconds, so that's on a 30-second cooldown instead of a 10-second cooldown. So that's pretty nice. However, it does shut off the other two signature abilities. If you weren't running that, you could actually run 3 signature powers if you wanted to. I don't find a need for it. Then we're going to go over to sorcery, and we're going to do 20 points into the Orb of Doom. This is going to give us some mental damage coming from us. And this Orb of Doom is just like Storm's orb, lightning orb. Shoots down the screen, arcs out, touches everything, does a lot of damage. It's pretty fun. Costs a bit of magic, but that's okay, because it's not the only thing we're going to be doing, but it gives us some mental damage. Now we're going to come over here, we're going to put 20 points into Assured Destruction in the tech tree. As you can see, this does physical damage, and it does a pretty good amount of damage per missile. It has a high attack speed, fires off 5.5 missiles per second, and it has a bonus of 20% critical damage on the missiles, so they hit really hard. So we got mental damage, we got physical damage, and that's helping us take advantage of this damage buff when you hit with a physical, energy, or mental power stacking 3 times. So now we got that 20% damage buff. And then we're going to put 20 points into Doom Blast, which is a ranged attack under the tech tree again, and that's going to give us energy damage. We got mental, energy, and physical damage wrapped up now. And this actually restores power on hit also, so you'll always have a lot of power. You'll be straining a little bit on the magic side, but that's okay because you can just blast away with the missiles when we're straining for power. And then this hit's okay for damage, but it's giving us that energy damage, so the missiles and the orbs hit harder, and it buffs our damage obviously for the summons as well. Raises our sheet damage anyways. And then finally the rest of the points, making sure you put 1 point into the Blockade and the Inferno, because that's going to raise our range damage base damage of 5% and give us a chance to block should something get through. The rest of the points going to Ingenious Defense, and that's going to be a defensive passive, giving us a base of 15% damage negation, defense rating, hit points, regenerate health per second, and projectile deflection. And for your PvPers, it gives you your crowd control immunity buff when you activate it. And so that's the Power Cosmic build on the skills. You can see it all intertwines with each other fairly well. We got a ton of pets, 6 pets to take the attention off of us completely, and then we're actually buffing their damage by shooting out a whole ton of orbs and missiles and blasting away, keeping our damage up, maximizing damage. Going into gear, I did get his full kit, at least most of his full kit. So this is what I'm using here. I got his Portrait of Victor Von Doom. Gives us 1800 defense, which is really good. It gives us 540 energy damage, 400 mental damage, 400 physical damage. So that's pretty good. It's buffing us across the board. We're doing all 3 damage types, so we're happy with that. 1400 health, 455 brutal strike rating. That's buffing the pets. 1300 brutal damage rating, again buffing the pets. Now, interesting here, when you use a tech or sorcery power, which we're going to be using, gain +2 intelligence, and that stacks 2 times and lasts for 6 seconds. So that's buffing the pets as well. +2 to all power, +3 to the will of doom, and that's about it. That's going to affect us. So that's good for us. Now I'm using the Ancient Sea, the Horn of the Sea, instead of the Board of the Herald. And this is going to be more of a pet buff again. I'm trying to mix up all the buffs. So this has got 1800 defense, 1800 health, 22% summon ally damage, 26% summon ally duration. Just going back to these pets are on a 10-second cooldown and have a 10-second summon duration. If you have any kind of power duration or summon duration extension, that will actually exceed the 10-second duration, and it's still on a 10-second cooldown, so you can actually have 6 of these bots up at one time. Should you be able to break 100% duration, you could hit 9 bots up, but I don't think that's actually easily possible. You'd have to really dedicate yourself to getting power duration, and I think you could probably hit like 120% tops with some really well-rolled gear. So going back to the Seahorn, it's got the summon ally damage, summon ally duration, extra defense and crit rating when you hit with a ranged power, so we're getting some more buffs to the pets. 32% chance when you critically hit with a ranged power to gain 284 range damage, and brutal strike rating for 8 seconds, +1 to all powers, +3 ranks to the Lord of Latveria, +3 ranks to Latveria powers, +2 ranks to summon powers. So that's pretty awesome. I got the Mantle of the Future Warlord. 1700 defense rating, 247 damage rating versus bosses, 1842 health, 2.5% chance to ignore damage when attacked, 425 crit rating, 1600 crit damage rating. Oh, that's actually pretty good. When you hit with a mental or energy power, which we use both, gain 2% attack speed for 9 seconds. This stacks up to 4 times, and when you hit 4, you get +1 to all powers for 8 seconds. That should be up fully all the time. +1 to all powers, +3 to, or +5 to ingenious defense. I got Armor of the Hazareth 3. This has got 560 defense rating on this, or damage rating on this, sorry. And then its defense rating is actually based on physical, energy, and mental. So each one of those gets well over 2,000. So it's not going to reflect directly on your hero sheet. It'll reflect directly on your stat sheet to see it. 2,500 health, 2 durability, 67 power and magic. That's kind of nice. 10% power duration. That helps our pets again. They'll stay out longer. +2 to all powers, +1, well, +5 ranks to Orb of Doom, and +5 ranks to Assured Destruction, so that's awesome. And then there's a 25% chance when you land a Brutal Strike to enhance yourself, gaining 2 energy, 2 strength, and 2 intelligence for 6 seconds. And that's pretty awesome. And then I have the Life Force, which is his gauntlet. 750 damage rating, +4 base damage versus bosses, 1400 critical damage rating, 1180 brutal damage rating, a whole ton of procs. When you use a sorcery power, increase your mental damage rating by 90 for 8 seconds, stacks 3 times. When you use a tech power, increase your physical and energy damage rating by 90, stacks 3 times. If you reach 3 stacks with either sorcery or tech bonuses, your critical hits for the next 10 seconds restore 108 health. 6% chance, nah, that's nothing. +4 to ranks to all Doom's tech powers, +5 ranks to all Doom's sorcery powers. So that's pretty good. Now in this I put 50 damage to ranged powers, and then I did 3% summon ally damage. So I'm spreading it out, and I just did health on the armors, because that's going to buff the pets as well. Now on the costume, this is a little bit different than normal because it's a pet build. I did crit hit rating. That's going to buff our damage and our pets at the same time. This one's got 1 intelligence, 131 physical damage rating, 109 energy damage rating. So we're buffing pets and our own damage at the same time with crit, physical, energy, and intelligence. So that's all inclusive right there. I got Insignia of Nick Fury. This is a pet buff again, because when you hit with any power, it gives you 12% summon damage and 1 intelligence. But this has got critical damage on it also, which is going to buff us. And some dodge rating, so it gives us some dodge chance. Not ideally rolled, but you know, I have to use what I have. I got a Blessed Dupe Ectoplasm. I blessed it with Blessings of the Gila. This is a little bit different a build. We got a pet build, so Brutal Strike chance is going to buff the pets as well as ourselves. So that's going to work to our advantage. And then this one's got a 19.1% base damage versus bosses when you hit with an energy power. When you hit with a mental power, you gain 753 damage rating. So this is buffing ourselves. This is buffing our pets. And then when you hit with a physical power, you gain some more dodge rating. So that's helping our defense as well. So you can see we're kind of playing with that whole, we're doing 3 damage types. We're going to take full advantage of that. Again, I got Gila on an AIM robot dispenser. This is going to give us physical damage rating and energy damage rating and crit rating. Buffing 2 out of 3 damage types that we do, and crit hit rating goes across the board again. I got a Dr. Doom medallion. It's got damage rating, which is buffing across the board, power duration, which is helping keeping those pets out longer, health, a chance to cause the attacker to cower in fear, so that's going to help us defensively, and then it's got power and magic, which is going to help sustain us. So obviously Dr. Doom has to have a Dr. Doom medallion. It just makes sense. I got a Magneto Was Right t-shirt on. This has got crit hit rating, brutal strike rating, damage rating to ranged powers, buffing all our ranged abilities, and then damage rating. So this is buffing ourselves, keeping that damage up. And then I got a Blessed Armor Reality Chaos Portal. And again, all these are Gila. And this one's got summon ally damage with some ally health. And it's got some health to us. That's putting us at 20,000 health, which is perfect for a range character. It's more than enough to solo with, allowing us to keep that crit rating on the core, or on the costume. And then the Dupe Ectoplasm, which is pretty easy to get. You just need Cosmic World Stones, and you can get it from the vendor off to the left in Avengers Tower. And then the Armor Reality is just armored research drives right next to that same vendor. Pretty easy to get. using Relics of Xandor, which increase our ranged power damage, it gives us a little bit of health. I use those kind of often, as you can see. I don't have a lot. Using the Power Cosmic. Now, obviously, the build's the Power Cosmic, so right now it's only on rank 3, but the Power Cosmic works the same way. When you hit with a physical, energy, or mental power, you gain physical, mental, and energy damage rating, depending on which power. Usually it's an opposing power. But also on the 5th rank, you get +1 to all attributes, and all attributes buff you in all ways. Your pets, your damage, everything. So this is one character that fully optimizes the Power Cosmic completely. This is the go-to legendary for this build, and the build is based completely around the Power Cosmic. Using Dupe Ectoplasm, using his passive. It's just going to be crazy buff once it's fully leveled. I got an Ultron Silver. This is buffing more his energy damage, doing his energy and mental damage rating, his ranged powers, and I'm still leveling the yellow, so there's a lot of pets going on, so this is help fulfilling the buff to his ranged abilities and his mental powers and his energy powers. I got a Cosmic Ring, which is critical hit rating, critical hit damage rating, buffing pets and our own damage as well. Power and magic and defense. He's a little bit low on defense on the sheet damage because this one here again does so much buff on the stat side. You can see it's physical defense. And then because we got so many pets out there taking the attention off of ourselves, I did a ranged hero for 200 physical damage rating. Oh, I did the wrong one. But that's okay. This still works. It's physical damage rating. You can do the ranged, you can do energy, you can do whatever hero you want. You can do the mental. This is going to buff his missiles. That's why my missiles were hitting hard. So you can buff whatever end you want, whatever hero you want. I actually had several extra ones of these, which is why I went with it. Range is probably ideal. This is fine for me. More importantly is the power dupe. And this one, when you hit with an energy power, you gain 1,373 critical damage rating for 17 seconds, and you gain 17 spirit. When you hit with a mental power, gain 496 damage rating for 17 seconds and recover 17 spirit. And when you hit with a physical power, gain 3,969 brutal damage rating for 17 seconds and recover 17 spirit. Again, we're maximizing that to no end. All our damage is coming off of that, especially when we crit and brute. My crit rating is at 44.3% before any procs happen. My brutal strike rating is at 43% chance. So I'm going to crit and I'm going to brutal strike. It's just going to happen. And it's going to hit like a truck. My pet's going to hit like a truck. So that's the gear. That's kind of funny. I did the physical one, but it's going to make these things. I was wondering why these things were hitting harder than they were before. Even though it's only a 5% increase, I just noticed it. So we're going to do Cosmic Kingpin, and then he's going to get utterly destroyed unless he's got the damage buff amplifiers, and then he'll be a little tricky, but not that much. So let's go do it. Now, oops, there it is. Put the bounty hunter tracker up. What I do is I got his teleport, which is impending doom, on his right click. I got Doom Blast on the left click. I got Declaration War on button 1, just so I can hit it. These are permanent now because we did Doom's Army. Permanent for the map, I should say. As soon as you zone, you have to resummon them. It's kind of annoying. Then for 6 button, I have Orb of Doom, 7 buttons my health kit, 8 buttons my team up. My team up's Clea. I like Clea because she puts the damage bonus field up. I have Assure Destruction on 5. I have Latverian War Drums on 4, and then I have Lord of Latveria on 3. Basically, all I do is blast one mob at least with Doom Blast, fire off a Doom Orb, fire off some missiles. That gets everything rolling with the damage bonuses. Then I drop Latverian War Drums just to make sure they're fully powered up, and then they're running out. And then I just keep blasting a little bit, fire off a Doom Orb, fire off some missiles, and keep those rotating. Once I fire off an orb, I like to hold down the button at least for a second, maybe a second and a half, to make sure like 5 or 6 missiles are fired off for every Doom Orb. Blast 1 or 2 blasts with Doom Blast and keep that rotation up. And then after I fire off 5 of these, even if this is on cooldown, I'll hit the 4 button just to make sure I got the bots out all the time. And then any situation I don't like, I bring out Lord of Latveria. It's pretty easy. You don't even have to watch your power or your sorcery. It's just going to maintain itself. If you run out of one, it doesn't matter. You just use the other. If you run out of both, you just blast with Doom Blast. All your pets are going to help. If you run into a mess, you teleport out of it. Let's see, I think I gotta go down here. Got a little carried away with talking and explaining and not paying attention. We'll have to kill more mobs anyways for the chest. You can see with the duration, I have more pets out for a little limited amount of time, about 2 or 3 seconds anyways. And we got enough for our bounty. Pretty easy. Didn't even have to use our signature on any of that, but we will on him. Let's see, it's Energy Field, Marvelous, Power Cosmic. There's my signature. Staying in Clea's power field. And that was ridiculously easy. Ooh, Cosmic Dr. Octopus went down. And ever since I made those adjustments that I was talking about, this has been phenomenally easy. And I don't even have the Power Cosmic fully leveled out yet. I'm just getting the bonus damage from for mental and energy. So once that physical damage kicks in and then all the +1s to the attributes, it's going to be phenomenal. Well, that's it. That's the Power Cosmic build for Doom. That's Doom. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope it helps, and I'll talk to everybody real soon.